closer I've gotten with God, the more conversations we have, I've just been crying. I cry like all the time.
Yeah, and I don't see that as a negative thing. And once upon a time, I would try to, no, I'm not going to cry about this. No, I got to be strong, whatever that means. Because sometimes you are at your strongest when you are willing to come to God and go,
Yeah.
I don't have anything left, Lord. I can't do this by myself.
Please just hold your breath. Every door looks better when you keep it closed. Keep your head down and don't watch your step. No point in even trying now, just let it go. Maybe they will write the same for me. Maybe this was really just a dream. Don't wanna take that risk and try to see. A 9 to 5 will bring security, I'm sure, but I can guarantee you that's no way to live. Way to live. Promise that's no way to live. Way to live.
Hey guys, welcome back to a new episode of Prodigal Peas in a Pod.
Woo, woo.
My name is Denise Acosta.
I'm Brooke Ackerman.
And we are going to talk about something that has lit me up recently.
Ooh, get set, everybody. Buckle up.
Yeah, because I hear this a lot and it's worth talking about and having a conversation on. So I have had some really hard news brought into our life that we are dealing with, and it's very scary, right? And so when I have been telling people about it, and thankfully I'm in a space right now where I'm far more emotionally stable than I had been the first week. I was crying all the time. And so this is like to paint the picture of just how serious this is still. So I was like telling people about it and asking for prayers. And every now and then I'll get a comment when I'm crying, where is your faith? You'll see that it's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. Or I had one that was like, we have God, so we should never doubt. And I was just like,
oh,
let's pause for a second, because I don't even know where to take this angle at this point for this conversation, because me being like scared right now does not mean that I don't have faith in God. Also, what does that mean? Let's talk about that faith in God, because this came up several months ago too, the same thing. And it was like, my desired outcome may not be what God's will is for this and what he plans to do. For me, so we're going to go like two different ways, I think, of having conversations for today's episode is one, addressing those kinds of comments, and then two, where my brain was going as far as processing what's actually happening too. Because for me, usually when I am getting in a panicky state and I am stressing about something, I'm always like, okay, what's true? What's true? Give me something to anchor on, to calm down with and settle down with. And so here I am faced with this situation, and there's a lot of things that are true.
yeah.
There's a lot of things. God's the healer, or miracle worker, promise keeper. He's all of those things at the same time that I'm in the middle of this situation. And if he wanted to come through and do some complete healing and wipe out some stuff, do I believe he could do it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's part of his will, though. Is that going to stop me from believing in him? No. But things can still be hard. I don't know what's going to happen. And so anyways, I'm here like with all these things that are true, and I'm looking for something I can anchor onto, but I can't, or at least, for the first week of this. And so that was hard for me. So I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And then, so what is this truth that I'm supposed to hold on to? Because they're all true. And I'm just feeling so lost, and I just don't want to. I want something that I can find comfort in, because the only comfort I had at that point was like, I know that in the long run, I'll be okay. Whatever happens, I know I'll be okay. I know God's going to take care of me. I know, like, worst case scenarios, he's going to have people come in and support me in whatever way, and it's going to be wonderful. You know, that, and I believe that. But at the same time, it's still going to be hard.
Yeah.
So then it was the conversations with God through that was more like, which one, I'm asking God, which one am I anchoring on? And so he was just kind of like, well, none of them. And I'm like, that's not helping me. Right? Give me something, because at this point it felt like God was there, but not like he's hugging me. This is like the best visual I had for this. And so that was hard. So I know he's there. I know he's protecting me, but right now it's just me, and this is really hard. So he's telling me like, no, Denise, don't pick on something to anchor on. So what am I going to do? And he was like, just be through it, go through it. I'm going to be here with you. And different things that are true are going to be true through these moments, and it's all going to show up in that way. So I'm like, okay, so that was like super helpful. So then I'm going through each day, and it'll be a friend that's showing up and it's got this great prayer. It'll be someone checking in on me. It'll be like I feel actual weight of stress being lifted, all these different ways that God is showing up. And that's wonderful. And we can get into that more later if you want. But these phrases, man, they really strike a nerve in me because what do you mean when you say that? Do you think that my concern or my crying right now, because it's a very real situation, is because I lack faith in God? I think I have at this point too much faith, and that's why I'm confused. I don't know like what direction to take with it. And so then the doubting God thing, like what? I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that before we dig into more of them?
Well, I have a question.
Sure.
So whenever somebody says something like, where's your faith? Does that feel accusatory? Does it feel like judgment that that person is assuming that your faith has left the building?
Yes. At least in this particular case this recent situation where it was said, I know that was it.
Okay.
And so it was an attempt to...
They were trying to redirect.
Yes, they were trying to redirect. They had good intentions.
Yeah.
I recognize that everyone has good intentions. Everybody wants to have the one nice phrase to make you feel better, the one perfect verse that's going to change the whole way you view things, and suddenly everything's sunshine and rainbows. And so I know that they're good intentions. Yeah. But it was, where is your faith? And think back on him like, yeah, I know I can go to him for comfort. I have been. He's the only reason I'm still going through this.
And just because you're upset or fearful or sad or whatever doesn't mean you're not still going to him.
Yeah.
And so when someone says this, do you then start to doubt yourself, or do you start to feel like you need to defend yourself and prove their judgment or their assumption wrong? Or do you know what I mean? What's the internal response?
Neither, actually. I think before, for sure, I might have gotten defensive, but it's a little disappointing because then I feel like, okay, so this is someone that I can't have this conversation with then, because they still have to get to an understanding about things that I feel I've already grasped. And so you need to experience that for yourself before we can have this kind of a conversation, because it's a different level of a conversation. And so then I'm like a little sad because I'm like, okay, I guess I can't really have that convo with them. And then maybe an opportunity opens up later. Maybe, I don't know. But initially that is my response. That is how I feel.
And I was going to say, probably somewhere down the road, you could probably say, hey, when such and such happened, and you could have that sort of let them have a glimpse of where you are. But in the moment when emotions are already really high and you're worried and scared about whatever the situation is, your thought is not, let's have a conversation where I share my viewpoint and you share yours, because inside you're going, oh my gosh, I don't know how this is going to turn out. And so, because I was going to say, having a conversation eventually to give them a glimpse of how you are seeing God, because that might then reveal something in them that they're not aware of. But usually in the moment when it's already an emotionally heightened point, that's not where our brain is, and that's not, we don't have capacity to have that kind of conversation.
Yeah.
But I understand and now I feel like I can't talk to this person, but hopefully there is someone else in the circle who can have that conversation and then circle back with this other person some other time.
Yeah.
Because just shutting that down and then only feeling like it's just me, now who am I going to talk to? That can derail us too.
Yeah, for sure. I did have some good conversations along the way where it was, you can have both. You can have your faith in God and trust in him.
Yes.
And still be scared about this.
Absolutely. And still not like how the situation's going. Yeah.
And I can still process those emotions because, and then I think there's also that sometimes I feel like it is just me, but I feel like people are so used to seeing me as like strong. And so when they see me crying, some people really don't know how to handle that. So like I can see them where they get in a little panic and they just want to make it feel better. And they want me to stop crying, kind of a thing. They won't say those words, but like you can tell that's a desired outcome. And with all the stuff that I've in the last few years have done and unpacked with God and trying to correct some behaviors that were not healthy and were not helpful, like I'm an advocate for myself about processing and feeling my emotions. Yeah. Because if I don't, it's going to be far worse for me 5 years from now or whatever else. And so I'm okay with it. Like this is really scary news.
Yeah.
This is a hard thing. It's okay that I'm crying. It's okay that I am scared. That doesn't mean I don't believe in God.
And I don't understand where we got this idea that if we're showing or feeling our emotions, then somehow that's separate from our faith.
Yeah.
Because I have a feeling if Jesus was able to walk in this door and we were able to ask him these questions, he'd be like, no, absolutely. That makes so much sense that if a situation is scary, it makes sense that you feel scared. Mm-hmm. If a situation is sad, it makes sense that there are tears. That makes sense. That means you are a person who is not only in touch with your intellectual side, but that you are in touch with your heart. And that's what we want. And so it always fascinates me when somebody's like, I'm so sorry, I'm crying. No, what you're talking about is sad. Your tears belong here. This sad situation deserves tears.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. It's when people are very stoic and know everything's going to be fine and God will work it out. And everything may be fine and God will work it out, but you're still allowed to feel in the process.
Yeah. We're not robots.
No.
My faith in God doesn't mean that I suddenly don't have emotions now.
No, honestly, quite the contrary. The more I've connected with God, the deeper my relationship is with him, the more my emotions come out, and I'm way more comfortable with that.
I've cried so much in the last 5 years than I have my entire life.
Yeah.
Most of my life is, no, we don't cry. We're not criers. But yeah, just attesting to what you're saying, the closer I've gotten with God, the more conversations we have, I've just been crying. I cry like all the time.
Yeah, and I don't see that as a negative thing. And once upon a time, I would try to, no, I'm not going to cry about this. No, I got to be strong, whatever that means. Because sometimes you are at your strongest when you are willing to come to God and go, I don't have anything left, Lord. I can't do this by myself. So can you come into this situation with me? That is actually strength.
Yeah. To be able to admit, acknowledge, and see that for sure. Because everybody else, we just want to muscle up and do it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. That's hard because when that happens, there's not only now the situation that you're dealing with, and it's the feelings that come because whoever this person is, whatever the situation, like it now feels like someone's doubting us. And now there's all this extra. Now there's all these side dishes to this entree that I never ordered anyway, and I don't want any of this.
Too much food.
And that is the only time either one of us would say that statement.
Yes. Facts. Why do we label realism as negativity? Why do we label realism as negativity? Brooke? That's a good one. Why is being realistic such a bad thing?
Because I think
it's realistic.
Right. We've been unintentionally trained to look at the positive. Let's look at the glass half full. And there's nothing wrong. I am more often than not, in most situations, a glass is half full. That is usually my view of things. There are some situations and some topics where, no, that's not my view. But I think the insistence on focusing on the good and focusing on the positive, I think it comes out of, like when you were saying, when you were crying, other people are uncomfortable and they just want you to stop crying. That kind of, let's just focus on the positive. It's because that person is uncomfortable with our discomfort and they want to have something to offer. They want to help because someone they care about, you're in pain. They don't want that. They don't like it. They want to help. And when they don't know what to do, then we just grab our Jesus salt shaker and we'll just focus on the positive. God will come through for you. Yeah, I know that, but I'm still sad, or this is still hard. And I think it feels to us, without even entirely being conscious of it, that if I don't have some good thing to offer that brightens this person up, then I'm uncomfortable and I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
And so focus on the positive. When sometimes the situation, yes, we will eventually find something good in this situation. But right now, this is really hard. And that's all there is to it. Mm-hmm. Will I eventually come around and see good in it? Yes. But I'm allowed to say, this situation right now, the way that it is difficult. But we don't like that. And that's uncomfortable. So we want to change it as quickly as we can.
Just let me feel my feelings, you guys.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Because I'm not going to pretend like everything is fine when things aren't all fine.
No, that's ridiculous. God knows that you're not feeling like everything's fine. So who are we putting on that show for?
Yeah.
I don't feel fine.
Yeah.
The situation is obviously not fine. God knows this is all not fine. So to make you, whoever you are on the other side of this fake situation, to make you feel more comfortable, I'm going to slap on a smile when I'm crumbling inside. No. Nope. Did I used to do that? Sometimes. Do I do it anymore? As little as possible.
Yeah. As little as possible is a safe way for me to say about myself too.
Yeah.
I wish I could say I don't do it anymore, but
yeah, me
it still
too.
occasionally comes out.
Absolutely.
For sure. But yeah, pretending like everything is fine isn't genuine. It's not what faith is. So if you're asking me where is my faith in all of this, my faith is I'm trusting in God for various things. I don't know which one I'm going to need to to lean or fall back on, but I know that I have it, whatever it ends up being. And yeah, I think for sure what you're saying about some people are not comfortable with both emotions existing at the same time. It's got to be one or the other. Or if I'm not thinking positive and it doesn't work out, it's because I was doing something wrong or I didn't have enough faith. Then I can see where these things come from. I can see how we adopt these things.
And if I'm not sure and I feel uncomfortable and I'm sad or this is difficult or whatever, if that's temporary and whatever that means, whatever time stamp you want to put on temporary, that's different. And knowing that this is difficult right now and I still trust God and he will come through. Even if him coming through doesn't look the way that I want it to look, doesn't mean he didn't come through. But if that is temporary, then that's different than that's what I get hyper focused on. And it's all doom and gloom. It's all difficult. Things are never going to get any better. This is just terrible. My life sucks. Like, that's not the same thing as right now this is hard and things will eventually change.
Yeah.
But we can definitely get way too bogged down in the negative version of, oh, woe is me, and have our own little pity party, which those parties aren't fun.
Nope. Nope. So I want to go back to how I was stressing out with all these different truths and looking so much into anchoring them on the off chance that maybe this is happening or has happened to one of you guys and my experience can maybe be helpful. There's a lot of truths that come to mind, whether it's little examples of the Bible or it's just like theological things. And I'm going to read a few off and see if this is something that resonates for you. There's if I don't believe hard enough, will I miss the miracle? So if I don't believe that God is going to heal, then I'm going to miss this miracle because I didn't believe that. And so maybe that's what I need to put all my energy in. And it's, hang on, you guys. There's, if I prepare for bad news, am I blocking God? If I'm sitting out here so I don't hurt my own feelings, but actually I am hurting my own feelings because I'm already thinking about all these different bad scenarios. Am I blocking God from working? You're blocking yourself from hearing from God, sure. You're cluttering all this noise with all of that, but you're not going to, you can't get in the way of what God has already decided is going to happen. If I hope too much, will I be crushed? Oh yeah, let's not set the bar too high. Like, I believe God's going to do this absolute miracle, complete healing. We got nothing to worry about. And then when it doesn't happen, then I'm going to be like super let down. So there's all these different things, right? And then if the outcome isn't good, will people assume my faith failed? Thankfully, this is not one where I'm not concerned about other people's concern about my faith. As you can see from, I was upset about people asking those questions already. But still, like, that could be a thing for someone. Like, you want to present this strong faith because you are representing Christ. And so I can see how someone would get wrapped up in that. And you want to be the example for someone else who might be struggling. But the more helpful version of that is going to be authentic. As messy as that looks, whatever that sounds like, people need to see more of that. I know that I've benefited a lot from that kind of stuff. Yeah. You had a good analogy you were saying about the blind, and you want to just go ahead and say it?
Sure. Yeah, there are so many stories of Jesus healing different people, but there are people that he walks past and does not stop and does not heal them. And he decides, yes, I'm going to stop and I'm going to heal this blind person. But we don't know how many other blind people he walked past and didn't heal them, because there were a lot of people who were in need of physical healing. And had he stopped and healed every single person, either the Bible would be 9 million times longer, or there would have been more of those stories. You know what I mean? And I wish I knew the explanation for why he healed this paralyzed person and not that paralyzed person. I don't know why, because I know people present day who have had physical healing, and I know people present day who haven't. And they're all believers. They've all asked for it. They've gotten their hopes up. They feel like God's going to come through for them. And this person, yes, they've been healed. This person, no, they're still waiting for their healing. And so how do you make sense of that? I don't know. But I know that Jesus is still good and trustworthy and loves us, and everything he does is for our good. How is him not healing someone? How is that for their good? I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. And that's really hard, because I know situations, some of my own, where I have gotten my hopes up for something and feel like this is what God has said, and then it doesn't happen, or it doesn't happen the way that I thought I understood him. And so then how do I continue to hope? Those are hard situations, but they're very real. And like you said, I've learned more from the people who are willing to share those stories than God is good all the time. And yes, he is, but do not slap that sticker on my hard situation. Yeah. That's not helpful.
And in case you missed our last few episodes on overthinking, you present all these truths as someone like an overthinker. You dig into that even more than you've just already presented. For example, you're talking about healing. So then in my head, I'm like, okay, are we talking about, I know I prayed for healing, but maybe the healing that we got was more on the spiritual side, more on the mental side, more maybe wasn't the physical side. And so it's creating like all these little loopholes, these little like subtopics of different ways. And so it gets overwhelming. It gets hard. So I had mentioned at the beginning of the episode and talking to God, and then what he ended up telling me, but I want to also stress this wasn't, I'm having all these emotions. I sit down immediately to ask God right away. And then this is what he told me. No, you guys, absolutely not. It is definitely a process for me, because I also don't like feeling a ton of emotions at once. And so the situation is hard enough. I don't want to sit down and talk about it just yet, because I'm putting myself back in that spot. And so this conversation is delayed and dragged out kind of long. And so I'm trying to ground myself and using other methods that I do. And so I do finally get around to having significant time for a conversation with God about stuff. And then a lot of times it's experiencing him is where I hear him more. And so it'll just start happening in life. And so it's like through different things, and he'll be like, all of these things are true. Yes. And I don't want you to pick one. It's not that which verse is the one that applies to my situation. And there's a temptation. We want that. Sure. Let's just find the one that applies to us. But in my case for this, talking this through with God was for what but where he's walking me through in this, because it's very much still happening, is experiencing all those truths that I'm trying to pick one of. I'm experiencing all of it. Each one of those that I was mentioning and trying to grab onto, I'm experiencing all of them as I'm going through this, because it is hard. Yeah. It is hard. And God is still all those things. Yes. And this is what that looks like. It's not just picking one and anchoring to it and being like, it's all gonna be sunshine and rainbows now because my God is so good. Yes, he is. And this is really hard. Yeah. Because his very good plan does also have consequences for some of his people, because that's just part of it, and that's just how it needs to be. I don't know those reasons. I don't need it. Let's not get wrapped up in trying to figure that out. That's a whole other rabbit hole to go down.
A theology degree.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know, you guys. For me, that's what ended up being like the thing to finally release off of me, is no longer trying to pick one. Yeah. No longer trying to pick one to hold on to. It was like, visually it was like balloons, right? Like you have red balloons and they're all different truths. And I'm like, which one do I grab and just hold on to? And it's no, none of them. They're all these little balloons are going to follow you along the way as you're going through this. And so it has been really helpful to see him showing up in that way and allowing myself to work that way. Because we have to have a heart to receive and process and go through these things and accept all of these things at the same time and surrender control of all of that. Because yes, we want to know the outcome. Yes, we want to prepare for it. And just sometimes, you know what? Like we just don't have it. We don't have it. And so that's how the conversation came for me and God. And then we had a really great prayer session with some friends recently. And I got to talk to God a little bit more about that. I felt like the conversation was really like better facilitated, right? Because I get really distracted. and it was really nice for me that day because I felt like even though I knew God was around me this whole time, even though I know he's presenting himself, it wasn't like a hug. This is, I don't know. And this is just the best way I can visualize it. And I felt like during that prayer time, I felt like I got a real hug from God for it. And so, hi, cram on podcast again. But it felt better because it was a restored connection. Not that the connection was lost, but it wasn't as close as I would have liked it to be. And now that's where we're at. Yeah. And so it just feels good.
I always find that really interesting. That's what makes us feel better, is that we feel connected to him again. And not that he went anywhere. We feel disconnected for whatever reason. But that more often than not is the thing that we go, oh, okay, now I feel okay. The situation hasn't changed. I don't have answers to the questions, but I feel more connected. And so now I'm okay.
Yeah.
And that every time that happens, I'm like, wow, I get so focused on the answers and let's solve the problem and let's do that. And God's now, how about you come here, come close. And that's actually the answer that you're looking for, even though I still want the problem to be solved and the questions to be answered, but it changes things.
Yeah. I'm far more emotionally stable now about it, so. There was a good straight, 7 days of, crying, and then, and then crying, so.
And what's really hard about some of these situations, especially when somebody says, where's your faith? And don't you trust God? There are so many stories. There are so many key people in the Bible we would never describe them as anything but faithful, who did not get the end result that they thought they were going to get. And those are the people we hold up as examples of faith. And they didn't get, and they lived happily ever after. Here's the bow on their story.
Right.
And then we get stories about faithful people who, and they lived happily ever after and they got the bow. And it's like, how do you explain? How do you, again, at a different time when you're in a different mental state with the people who say, where's your faith? Hey, how about you read this story about this person in the Bible? Because you'll see they were faithful and did not get their happy ending.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean God didn't love them. It didn't mean God wasn't providing. It doesn't mean that they lacked faith. We don't have all of those answers all the time.
And if you are feeling like how I was illustrating, that I knew God was still there and I could feel him working and I could see those things and I was grateful for them, but there was still something missing. And then after that prayer, I felt like I had that connection where I was hugging. Then I had to also ask what was happening there. So let's be curious about that too, because then it's like, why am I hesitant, but I'm not? Like there's something there, and what am I either believing? What am I misunderstanding? What am I afraid of? So I had to ask those questions and deal with some of that stuff, and which is always great because it's like spiritual growth and it's wonderful. You learn more about God, you get connected. And yeah, I say it's wonderful, but it's a little process. But think about that stuff too. Like, why did I feel like I lost that connection? Because it wasn't like I was drowning him out. I was very much still in the word, and I'm studying, and I'm whatever different ways that I do, that I'm in conversation with God. But this moment was different. And so I think part of it was like the goodness of God, right? And so I know he wants good things for me, but I'm also trying to reconcile that our definition of good could be different.
Yeah. Yes.
And I agree that no matter what happens, good or bad, God can use anything for good. And so my hesitancy was in not knowing which one it was. And so I was afraid to get too close, because what if it was the one that I didn't want?
Yeah.
So it's hard, you guys, but I recommend digging into that.
When I was just having a conversation earlier today before I came here to record this with you, and the person was talking about, this is how this usually goes. This is how I usually approach this situation with God. And I was like, are you noticing how often you're saying all the things that you do, and this person did not intend it? I don't intend it. I don't know anybody that goes, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to operate. But we turn our relationship with God into a formula, and we think, okay, this is how I did this last time, and this is how it worked out, and that was a good outcome. And so if I just repeat that, then, and we don't And even when you were saying, like, I was still connected, I was still reading my Bible, I was still doing this, and those aren't bad things. And I'm not saying you were trying to turn God into a formula, but without us realizing it, sometimes it's what we're doing. And the way that I said it to this person is, you're standing at your front door, staring out the front door, waiting for him to show up. And what you don't notice is he's crawling in through the window. Like, he's gonna do it a different way, not because he's trying to trick you, not because you're doing anything wrong, but he knows what's best. And so if he needs to shake things up a little bit for reasons that don't make sense to us, he will do that, because he will only do what is best for us, even if it doesn't make sense, even if it feels like, where are you? I'm standing here waiting. I'm looking for you. I'm expecting you. Those are all good things. And he's like, I got to come in this way, because you're now making it about a formula or nailing down the process instead of connection. And again, that's 99% of the time, it's not something intentional. I think sometimes we do intend, if I just follow the recipe correctly, then God will bring me a chocolate cake. And God's, no, I'm bringing you pie through the window. Why do I always go back to food?
I don't know, but I'm kind of laughing because I don't follow recipes. I like glance at it and I'm like, all right. And then I just do my own thing.
See, some recipes I follow, some things I'm like, no, I'm not measuring that. That's not even a real thing. I'm just going to make this up as I go. But there are some recipes, like cooking, I cannot follow a recipe. Baking, no, I have to follow. If it says a quarter teaspoon of something, I'm measuring, unless it's vanilla or cinnamon. I don't measure those things. I measure that with my heart. Garlic, measure that with my heart. Yeah.
Same.
But yeah, food analogies, I'm realizing I use them a lot. Maybe that's a conversation I should have with the Lord.
Perhaps. So then people have different ways of what faith should look like in these situations. And those are very personal things. And for personal reasons, you may think it needs to look a certain way, and have those conversations with God for why that may be. But what are some other ways that faith can look like during these hard moments? And we have a few that we can share, but it's a health related thing, you guys, for this really big thing that's come up that's really hard. And yeah, showing up to the appointment anyway. We're not knowing what's going to happen, what's in God's hands, and just whatever it is, every single step of the way, to trust that he's going to guide through that. That one really resonates with me.
Yeah.
You got any?
I think when we've talked around this, but I'm not going to pretend that I'm fine when I'm not fine. And I'm still going to come to God anyway with whatever it is, with all of my stuff. But I don't feel the need to present whatever version of myself I think would be more palatable for someone, because God knows where I am. And so I'm just going to show up the way that I authentically feel and still have faith and still trust God. Just this morning I was praying for a friend actually, and before I could even finish asking God, what do you want me to pray for this person? The scripture popped into my mind of trust God with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. And I was like, okay, I'm going to pray this for this person if this is what God's saying. And I realized trust God with all your heart. It means that's a belief. I believe that you are trustworthy, God. Not I intellectually understand because I've read it in the Bible or someone else has told me a story. And I know that's not like revolutionary thought or anything, but it shifted something in me to realize to say trust God with all your heart means I believe you, Lord, that you are trustworthy. And to choose to come with that heart posture and still feel like I don't understand what's going on. Just, I don't know, that changes things for me.
I think we are afraid to admit that we're scared to God. Because if we admit that we're scared to God, then maybe God will think we don't trust him. Maybe God will think blah, blah, blah.
Uh-huh.
Or maybe that means blah, blah, blah. Fill in the blank. Yeah, I think that's, to admit that you're scared is going to be probably one that can be challenging to do initially. The praying and still crying.
Yeah.
I love that.
I like the idea. I don't like it when I'm in it.
Yeah. Yeah, as a general thing for sure. Because I don't know, maybe not everyone, understands that that's okay. I think sometimes people are really out here and think that may not be okay.
Yeah.
That their understanding is that you are supposed to be happy then if you trust God. And no, come with all your feels and crying. And then I really like the admitting that you're scared to God.
Yeah.
He already knows
Right,
that.
he already knows. It's really more for our benefit that we come and say, God, I'm really scared right now. I know. It's okay. Come here. Let me take care of you. But yeah.
Recognizing that in ourselves.
Yeah, because when you said maybe if we admit it, then he already knows. Like, what are we doing?
We do that sometimes.
Yo,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. I've done it more than once. We'll just say it that way.
Hey, God, I don't know if you know this, but this is really hard for me.
Just in case you weren't looking the last 10 minutes, I just wanted to inform you that this is a tough situation.
In case you couldn't tell. Yeah. So maybe faith isn't loud confidence. It's quiet endurance. And sometimes it is loud confidence.
Yeah.
And great. And that's awesome. Me currently in this season, it is very quiet endurance. And endurance, like in bold, underlined, increase that font point for sure. That's definitely been a prayer of mine with all the different things that I've also got happening in the midst of this is endurance to keep doing on the things that he wants me to keep working on during this time. So these are the phrases that have stuck out to me and felt like a punch to the gut. And I also said that I know that they mean well. I know they're trying to be encouraging, and whoever is saying this to us, I'm pretty sure they are trying to be encouraging. And so as a response to that, let's focus on that instead of being on the defense and fighting about it and defending ourselves or putting a position for an argument, and just say, I know you're trying to encourage me and I appreciate that. That's going to come a long way. But the reality is that we can be realistic and faithful at the same time. We can be scared and surrendered at the same time too. And we can trust God without scripting him. I hope that's helpful. I've had to find some things in my conversations with God that have been helpful, and I hope the stuff that I shared about that was helpful.
Yeah, that you can trust God without scripting him, that it probably works out better if we definitely don't script him. He's good with coming up with his own words.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can handle that.
Yeah, let's run to God first and not AI first.
It's right there in the name. Artificial intelligence.
Yeah. He doesn't need help articulating words. He doesn't need AI's help to tell us what he's trying to tell us, you guys.
Yeah, so just...
And nothing against AI, you guys. Yeah. I use it. It's a tool. Let's not depend on it. It's a tool.
Right. Yeah, so let's just go straight to the source. God, not AI.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. AI is not the root of all evil. It's a tool. So thanks for tuning in once again to another episode of Prodigal Peas in a Pod, and we'll see you next week.
Okay, bye.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Prodigal Peas in a Pod.
For more content, please be sure to like, follow, and share.
And you can email us at prodigalpeas@gmail.com.
For more information on Misfit of Creation, you can like and follow me on just about all social medias, to include TikTok. I also have a Facebook community group that you can join. I have an Etsy shop that has a lot of downloadable tools to help strengthen your walk with Christ. There is a Patreon account if you are looking to be a monthly supporter. And I also do an online prayer call once a month. So be sure to follow that to be updated on when the next date is.
You can find more information on my mental and emotional health coaching practice at blueprintheartandmind.com, where you can also access my blog and schedule a session with me. And you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So, Denise, what's next?
Hey, DJ, spin that track.
I get it now, I need to be myself, because a copycat can only do so well. Love with everything that makes me who I am. Don't need a backup plan, I hope they understand that I'm doing better today. I got me a mission that got some fruition, you down to stay out the way. Can't seek validation from people who hating, I got my mentality straight. Shout out to God, I've been keeping the first, he been working and paving the way. And now I can guarantee you that's the way to live. Way to live. Promise
shorter
than me.
Just no, in general. Like I feel like I'm sitting lower.
I don't know.
Me either. Okay.
Did you bring on the weight of like more problems on this time when you came to sit down? Pick up some new ones along the way?
Maybe. I don't know. If you got a problem, yo, I'll solve it.
Oh.